Okay, I'll call this meeting to order. And I'm going to discuss.
Before we start, Mr. Chairman, I think Mr. Arledge is going to have to recuse himself.
Yes.
So if you'll,
How do I do that?
Well, just-
Use myself.
You gotta leave the room.
Yes. Okay. Do I
He's-
sign anything?
we will get it. We hadn't to get the form, but we'll get the form to you. And if you'll just step
Okay.
out of the room and we'll catch up to you in a bit.
Okay, we're going to discuss and consider the approval of the preliminary plat of the Bandera Estates Phase 2, situated in the B Merchant Survey, abstract number 358, City of Mount Pleasant, Titus County, Texas, located at the northeast corner of the intersection of East 8th Street and North Light Avenue. Take any action necessary.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, this is the application. It's been submitted for preliminary plat of the Bandera Phase 2. Initially, can we get that slide up there? Is it up? The next slide. This is the area, as you had mentioned in the caption, it's at the intersection of East 8th and Light Avenue. The next slide. There's another sort of locational map of the boundary of the property. And from this kind of indicates that there were lots that were already platted around this property. And this was actually also a tract of land inside of those lots. It did have on the north end of it, it did have access to light up on the north end. And that's how that larger lot would have gotten access had it been a single lot. But the applicant has been developing homes on these lots, and the areas are essentially Bandera 1 is the perimeter around that East 8th Street and Lied, where you see those lots on that appraisal district map. He's been building homes there and selling those lots. And now he's coming back, and since the streets were existing, utilities were existing, he's ready to start building on the remainder of the land he's purchased, and that's what this is about. The property is currently zoned SF2, which is single-family residential, and the minimum lot size for that is 7,000 square feet. He indicates on these lots that he's meeting those requirements of the zoning, and that includes all setbacks and dimensional requirements out of our code. That plat indicates that that's what's occurring today. He initially, when I had that, and I meant to change your memo, but he had brought in what I thought all the lots were in the other 3 lots that you're going to see in a minute in a replat, but that's where the 31 lots initially came from, what I had mentioned in this memo. But actually, in reality, what happened is that there's only 28 residential lots, and there's also 1 lot that has to be used as detention. There's some detention requirements for flooding downstream and whatnot, and rather than do a full-blown study, the applicant's basically going to go ahead and detain that flow onto the property that would be normally coming off of the property. That's basically the engineering factor, and we've worked that out through engineering. So that 1 lot becomes detention and takes care of that downstream flow. It won't be any faster than it would be naturally going down and being released out of that detention pond that he's going to put in. In addition to that, if you look at the plat, he's having to construct 2 streets, 2 cul-de-sacs that go into the property, and those, our code reads that those cannot exceed a maximum dead end length of 400 feet, and that's required by the city's subdivision ordinance. However, those turnarounds they do meet. They're going to be constructed with the correct cul-de-sac turnaround, and actually in the building code our subdivision code is actually more restrictive than the International Building Code and the fire code related to those cul-de-sacs. Generally, I've seen them more than that, 600 to 800 feet. You can go in before you create the turnaround for the fire apparatus. So with that being said, we did confer with the fire department and what their concerns with that. And as long as they met the building code and they also met the turnaround radius for their trucks, when they do, it's going to be 90-foot radius or 90-foot circumference there. that a diameter, excuse me, a 90-foot diameter, then they will meet that requirement. So we're recommending to you that we accept the plat even with this sort of waiver or variance to the cul-de-sac, the length of cul-de-sac into the property. Again, that was really the only real condition of this. We addressed the detention, we addressed these cul-de-sac turnarounds. There's the right now the engineering is pretty much approved, almost 95% approved. With that being said, so what we do, the process here is to go ahead and approve a preliminary plat and let the applicant build off of this preliminary plat, and then we'll get a final plat. And if there's any adjustments we have to make to easements or anything else, then that plat will come back to you in final form, and we will make any of those adjustments that we need to make at that time. So with that being said, we would recommend to you, if you have any questions, but we'd recommend to you approve the preliminary plat as submitted, and it's conditioned on its final engineering approval and final plat approval. Right now, this is just a preliminary that you're approving.
Okay. Have a motion to approve the plat?
I will make the motion to approve it as presented.
I'll second the motion to approve.
There's no other discussion.
Any nays?
We got to get a head count on the vote, and I guess we're going to do that, Regina. Okay. Each of you just speak your vote. Yay or nay?
Yay or nay? Yes. You good? You approve?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, approve.
Approved.
Yes.
Stands approved.
Okay. Number 3, discuss and consider the approval of the replat of lots 1, 12, and 13. Bandra Estate, Phase 1, situated in V Meta Survey, abstract number 358, City of Mount Pleasant, Titus County, Texas, located at the northeast corner of intersection of East 8th Street and North Light Avenue. Take any next action as necessary.
Can we get the next slide or two? Keep going. There we go. Mr. Chairman, this is the replat part that the applicant submitted. Initially, he was changing the size of the lot on the north end. When he's actually doing the plat of Bandera 2, he's creating another lot up there, and it also just changed what he had left over to create a lot that works with the original, essentially what was originally Phase 1. It is Phase 1, but he's adjusting these lot sizes. The one on the north just got actually bigger on the Lyde Street. And then the ones on the south, he was having to create those, adjust those to provide for that 50-foot street that's going in. So part of that's right away. The problem with that, he's able to, on the what would be the west side, that particular lot that he's creating there will meet the requirements. I'm going to get that right here. But the lot that is on the east side that abuts the street, that lot won't meet the requirements for a residential lot at this time. What we're recommending is to allow that to be platted in that form, or replatted into that form, but it's a no-build lot. We can't issue any permits on that lot. And his intent is to go to the property owner, adjacent property owner, and make an offer for him to buy that portion of the property. Then you'll see another replat at some time in the future. If he elects to build or do anything over there, he'll come back and have to replat it again to correct that. But right now, just to get this thing front and center where he has that piece of property, to be able to do that, then we need to approve this replat. And it's essentially another sort of a variance to our requirements because he's creating a lot that can't be really used for anything at this time. And it will be adjoined to that other lot sometime in the future here. So that's essentially what's happening here. And it just cleans up what he had and creates that right of way on the south end. And we'd recommend approval to you for that as it stands.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve replat?
I will make a motion to approve that as presented.
Okay, Greg Hopes make a motion. Here a second.
Second that.
Nikki Hines,
Approved.
second. Thomas,
Approved.
all approved? Okay, so we're moving to number 4.
Mr. Arledge could come back in the room if he's ready.
Sounds good to me. Villaria, I think.
You back, Mr. Arledge?
Yes. I'm back. Thank you.
Okay, item number 4 is hold a public hearing to consider the request of Carlos Villarreal, application to rezone a 12.30 acre tract of land situated in the John Thompson Survey Abstract Number 567, City of Mount Pleasant, Titus County, Texas, and being part of the remainder of that certain 212 acre tract of land called First Tract, conveyed from J.W. Walker, edits to E.G. Ritchie by warranty deed, and being generally located in the east side of US 271, approximately 1,500 feet north of FM 127 Monticello Road, and take any action necessary.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, this is an application for zoning. This property is currently zoned FD, which means future development. And most of, not all of the land along, especially south of I-30, when it was brought in the city, it becomes future development. And basically that's a holding pattern for zoning until development comes forward. This is probably one of the first developments in this area. They are basically going to build a Texas Department of Criminal Justice office, about a 15,000 square foot office. And currently our land use plan indicates this area, the land use plan is kind of old, but it indicates this area to be light industrial. And so basically the zoning out there, if we as staff just recommended that they use that light industrial zoning because it accommodates their use. Office use is allowed in there, along with other uses. But at this point, we really, we're actually doing some, beginning to do some study of different land uses in the area and to try to make more determination on what should go out there. But we felt like with this office building and what is existing to the south, you know, you do have some industrial uses as you go further south on the Loop Road. So we felt like this was an appropriate zoning, and one of the reasons is because it's on the land use plan currently. That might change in the future, or we might decide to do take some different looks at what maybe be some other appropriate uses out there. Right now, that's the way the land use plan defines it, so that's what we recommended to them. So this is the first step. They want to go through, they got to get it zoned first before we can go to the next steps. You're going to see the preliminary plat and a site plan. But with that, this is a public hearing. I think the applicant has a representative here to speak. If you have any questions or explain anything further on this case, if he'd care to address you.
Okay, is that-
I'm Brandon Cheney with Cheney Engineering. We're the civil engineer and surveyor. 722 19th Street Southeast in Paris address. As I said, we're representing the developer as a civil engineer and preparing their plats required. And I'm not in detail familiar with the building they're proposing, but I'll be glad to try to answer any questions y'all might have.
Okay. Anybody have any questions?
I have none.
Okay. We're really only developing a small portion of that property at the moment for their facility.
For just light industrial, is that what the rezoning, what's the rezoning would be? Okay.
Which there's a lot of things that can go under light industrial, right? It's a pretty liberal zoning, correct?
Right.
Right. Right, and under the light industrial side. Okay,
Thank y'all. Thank you.
Thank you.
And as I said, just getting back to what the comprehensive plan, when you have a comprehensive plan, even though this one's very old, and we're actually probably going to be updating that plan in the future, hopefully pretty soon. But that, when you have got that plan in place, that's sort of the legal foundation for how you zone property. So, without zoning it any more restrictive, which we probably wouldn't, but at the same time, you still, when property owners look at comprehensive plans and they have the property, it's not zoning necessarily, but you sort of have a expectation of what that property needs to be zoned and how you sell it. And so there's an expectation. So it's an important matter to have that map in place, and we hope to be looking at that in the future. And yeah, we might change some things out there that may be more appropriate, maybe more restrictive, but currently we're not there. And hopefully things will develop at a speed that we will catch up to it as soon as possible. And I think when water and sewer kind of get there, it's when it's going to really start happening. So we got a little bit of breathing room here to kind of get these things straightened out. But with that being said, again, staff's recommending recommended zoning to the council as light industrial.
okay. I hear a motion to accept, approve it. James Aldridge makes a motion.
I will second it.
Mr. Holt,
Approved.
Ms. Hine,
I'm ready to see
Mr.
dirt move
Thompson?
out there.
all unanimous, approved.
Aye.
I did get a property owner that did call me and said he was approving of this. He had no objections to the zoning.
Okay. All right.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, one thing I neglected to say, when we open a public hearing like we just did, then you got to close the public hearing officially. So
Okay.
if you would mind, you close the public
So
hearing.
we'll close the hearing on item number 4.
Yeah, and the procedure is to close the public hearing before you do the vote, but that's okay. So we did it.
Oh, okay,
It's no problem.
okay. We'll close the public hearing and then we'll have a vote. Accept,
I'll make a motion.
make a motion to accept.
Accept, approve.
Approved.
Approved.
Also, just get these rules of order in track
yeah.
here, if that's okay.
Yeah.
A motion, somebody makes a motion and then somebody needs to second the motion
Right.
and then you vote on it. You mind doing that? Can we go it that way, Ralph? We need a motion and then we need a second.
Mhm.
I'll make a motion.
Okay,
And I will second.
second motion. All say aye.
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 That's
Rules
it.
pass. Rusty up on this. Okay, now we'll move to item number 5. Discuss and consider the approval of a preliminary plat of Royal Ranches Edition situated in the John Thompson Survey Abstract number 567, City of Mount Pleasant, Titus County, and being part of the remainder of that certain 212-acre tract of land called First Tract, conveyed from J.W. Walker X to E.G. Ritchie by warranty deed and being generally located on the east side of US 271, approximately 1,500 feet north of FM 127, Monticello Road. Take any action necessary.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, this is the next part of this approval process for this applicant. They've submitted the preliminary plat and they've submitted the site plan. Explanation of the site planning process here, it seems to be, the way I've looked at it, it's sort of a discretionary thing on staff's level about having site plans submitted, but I've always wanted site plans submitted with every development because you really need to look in more detail about what's getting built out there before you want to approve even a preliminary plat. So along with this, they submitted one. What we want to see are things like whether their fire protection, where the utilities are going to be located, potential of detention, how they're going to lay out the parking, all the requirements from a site planning standpoint we look at, and then we can make a better determination with the preliminary plat. They kind of work hand in hand. So that's kind of a dual thing here for you that you'd be approving. If you've looked at can we keep going on the slides here? Let's get past that. Okay, that's basically this is the preliminary plat. It kind of indicates the driveway location off of the highway. You can see the building. Again, as the engineer representative has told you, they're only really developing a real small portion of this 12.3 acres. It's about probably an acre that they're going to develop at this point, but technically they're platting the whole thing, so we're looking at the whole thing combined. And they're having to do some pretty extensive grading. I don't know if you've been by the track and looked at it, they've had to do quite a bit of grading to be able to do this. So one of the things is we've got to look at also at drainage and detention out there. So they've made comments in their site planning that they will adhere to any detention requirements that they may have to do at this point. The issue is they're going to have to their outfall of their water is going to probably go into the TxDOT's right away. It'll probably drain back to some culverts that are out there. That requires a permit from TxDOT to do any kind of drainage into their facility, anything that they have. So when they do that permit, they're going to have to do a more extensive drainage study. And at some point, when it comes back as a final plat, if there's a detention requirement, then we'll show that easement, show exactly the location of any on-site detention that they may have to do. So that's one of the requirements we were kind of working through. The other one, which is kind of about the site plan also, that they've got to do a fire lane into the site for fire protection. There's a maximum turnaround that the fire apparatus can go in. It's about 150 feet before it has to have an ability to turn around. If you look at that, there's a big right-of-way out front getting back to the roadway. So to make it really work and to meet the requirements for fire hydrants and the hose lay and getting the truck in, they are going to construct what is called a hammerhead in the middle of the property. The hammerhead allows the truck to go in as far as it needs to go, but it has the ability to come halfway back out, turn into the hammerhead, and turn around and come back out. And that's a requirement to meet the fire code requirements. So they're doing that. The other part of it that they've asked for in this preliminary plat is we don't have water currently out there to serve them. We're in the process of doing that. It may be that we get a water line in before they're finished with construction. It'll be a timing issue. They're asking the council and with P&Z recommendation to be able to drill a well in the effect that we don't get there with the water. We're going to get there with the water, but this is just the fact that right now they're asking for it as an alternative in the effect that they can't get it. And for some reason, we can't get to it that quickly. That'll be strictly up to them if they build it. But if they do, even if they build it, as soon as we're there, they're going to have to connect to it anyway. So it's going to be at their expense if they elect to do that. In addition to that, because we don't have water out there, they have to build a supplemental tank, be about an 18,000 gallon water tank to meet fire code, have a sufficient flow that if fire occurs out there, they could fight that fire. So they're willing to do that. I believe that pretty much is everything that they're asking for. As far as their septic, that's another aerobic system they would put in. That's really another, in a sense, waiver, but we don't have it out there. We can't get sewer to them efficiently. It would cost millions of dollars to get sewer there at the moment. The plan is to get some sewer down there, but right now we can't get to it. So along with their request, they're requesting to use an aerobic system out there for a period of time before we give the final plat with the council, and this will be a council thing, we've already sort of developed a facilities agreement that says when that sewer is within 150 feet of your, any point of your property, then you will be tying into the sanitary sewer, which they'll have any problem doing. And they've agreed, they'll have to agree to that before we'll final the plat. So you'll see, again, this is a process. You're seeing the preliminary. They're going to build the site to the preliminary. Let's go to the site plan. Let's go to the next slide. Here is the site plan. But we're going to build it to this site plan, this preliminary plat. And then after final engineering is approved, and if there's detention, all those things get put onto the plat. We'll bring it back to you for final approval. And I'll have that, we'll show you the facilities agreement, but that'll be a council thing when it gets to them. So that being said, if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer any questions. Again, the engineer's here. This is the part that he's been working on, not the zoning necessarily, but this is what Brandon, the engineering for Paris, has been working on. So if you have any questions, he'll be glad to answer them for you.
Okay. I guess my question is they're calling this Royal Ranches Addition.
That's the name of their subdivision, which is all 12.3 acres of it. Now, they may come back at some point, replat some of it, and have a different lot. I don't know what they're going to do with all 12 acres at this point. But it is all 12 acres, even though
Sounds like a
that's just the
residential.
site plan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I know it sounds like something else, but
It sounds like residential, but it's
I
light
had-
industrial right now, which could turn into
yeah.
maybe.
I mean, honestly, that's the preliminary plat name. If they wanted to come back and change that name
Right.
when we get to the final, that was the name I asked them to come up with a name for their plat. We don't, typically the city doesn't dictate the names of the
Right.
plats, you know, but
Oh, okay.
we don't generally do that. We can, I guess, in a way. We could recommend something, but
Yeah.
but I kind of left that to the property owner. If he wanted to call it Royal Ranch Estates, it's fine. It seems like that's not really the exact name to use out there.
So what we're looking at here is about an acre? Is that what
That's
we're
approximately a little over an acre, probably right there in that area. Yeah, by the time if we do any, yeah, probably about an acre of that property. So again, I think it's there. And let me back up a little bit about this particular use. I don't know if you're familiar with these uses. There are certain state law requirements about separation of these particular uses from other uses, particularly public schools, public educational places, daycares, those kinds of things, hospitals. So they are required to be, I think, 1,000 feet away from certain things. So you usually have to either find a property that works. There's nothing located out there right now, so they'll meet the requirements. And even with the lot size, it's very likely they'd meet it anyway with another use coming out there. So as long as they're established there, then they've established themselves and they've got their distance requirements currently. And they may never build anything else out there on that track because of that reason. And these are long-term commitments. I think the state enters with these folks that build these facilities for them. So I would believe it'd be out there many, many years.
Where does the water stop now? I mean, how far is the water to where they're?
I can't give you the exact distance. It's several thousand feet to get to it. And it has to be, the other problem with it, you could run a small line out there, but you'd be just running the dead end line out there, which would only serve them, which would really not do any good.
Right.
We'd be kind of,
Have to put a 6 inch.
if you ran even a 6, if we run it out there, we'll probably run a 10-inch line and loop it back up to the north. So we get the whole area looped. Then we have a fire protection and we have it looped out there. And then you're not wasting water. You know, it's circulating, and that's what you need to do.
Anybody got any public comments or questions?
How far out are y'all? I mean, from the preliminary plat, 100% to where it's approved to when you're starting? Is that a year? Is that 6 months? How long? I mean, what do you think?
Well, no, not at all. They basically have turned into their engineering.
Okay.
We've got to make sure that we're good with their engineering. We've as of tonight or today, I've allowed them to submit their first set of building plans. So they submitted some building plans for review. Obviously, we're not going to approve those until we get this final engineering approved. But once the final engineering's approved, they're ready to turn dirt. They've been ready for a month or two, but we've had to go through this process. So they should, essentially, we would talk to them about releasing maybe a grading, get their silt fence permit going and get been doing some grading with the trees. They've been taking trees out, but to do their full scale grading. Once we get past this and next week to the council, I think their engineering is at the point where they can do that. They have to pull a textile permit on that drainage thing. They got to go through that, so that takes a little bit of time too.
Any comments, any more questions or comments? Okay, we'll close the public
It's
comment.
not a public hearing, but it's okay.
Hmm?
This one's not a public hearing.
Oh, okay. All right, so do we have a motion to,
We don't want to make the first motion, but yeah, I'll make a motion to accept it as presented.
Get a second?
I'll
here's, second? All in favor, say aye.
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 Need dirt moving.
We'll
All
see you
right.
next week.
Thank We'll go to number 6. We're going to have a public hearing here to consider the request of Tracy Howard, applicant for approval for a specific use permit for a restaurant without a drive-in service located in neighborhood service district being a 0.4987 acre tract of land described in Lot 2A, Block 310C, Mount Pleasant City Block, City of Mount Pleasant, Titus County, Texas, and being located at 703 Gibson Avenue. Take any action necessary.
We go to the next slide or two. Keep going. Right there. This property is located sort of in the west sector of the city. It's on Gibson Street, and the applicant came to us a few months ago. He had leased this building. I think in the past, this building, it was rezoned back in the 90s as neighborhood service, and they had a barber shop there, I believe. And I think at one time, the owner told me there was a beauty shop there over the few years, but it's been vacant for a while. The applicant came to us wanting to do a restaurant. The issue is that the code says you can, in a neighborhood service, you can have a restaurant, but you can't have a restaurant with drive-through service in a neighborhood. A restaurant in neighborhood service takes a specific use permit, and you can't have a drive-in type of restaurant is what it speaks to. So what you can have is somebody can walk up, kind of interpreted that to mean you could go inside and sit down, but you could walk up to it, but you couldn't have that proverbial drive-through. And that makes sense in neighborhood services because you don't want a 24-hour McDonald's located next to somebody's house. And that's why those kind of things, that's why the codes are written that way, to kind of prevent some of that kind of use of butting up next to residential districts. So there's certain things that this building is lacking in terms of for restaurant use. The applicant has agreed to do some of those. One of the things is that we don't have any parking. We don't have any paid parking out front. If we'll go to a next slide or two there. I had to kind of create something to show you. We don't have a specific site plan, but we've taken, basically the appraisal map and try to look at where we can put in some parking. And essentially we can get what would be required for this building for use. Since they're not going to have any seating in it, then all it would be is people pulling up, getting out the car and going up there to the window and getting food and leaving. So the requirement for us, we think there needs to be at least 3 parking spaces in front of the building paved with either concrete or asphalt that connects to the street. One of those parking spaces needs to be handicap accessible, which is required by state law. So we have to do that. The other part of it is essentially you have to put a ramp in by ADA accessibility requirements for them to walk up a ramp to get to the window. Maybe some construction issues, we're trying to get that accomplished, but the applicant's aware that it has to be done. Inside the building, there are a number of things. We have to have an ADA compliant bathroom. They've agreed to do that. So there is some structural things that are going to have to occur. So the positive side, if he wants to go through with to get this up to code, the building's going to be improved, at least interior wise, and substantially some of the outside will be improved. One of the other requirements for zoning requirements is that anytime you do a commercial property adjacent to residentially zoned property, that you provide a solid screening fence. So we're going to ask that at least part of that screening fence around that lot that's directly to the west, and then right on the north side, at least that portion of it, we will ask them to install like a 6-foot solid wood screening fence from that property to screen whatever use is going to go on there. And I realize that wasn't done in the past, but essentially it should have been. And that's just part of the code, and we're going to ask for that to occur. And again, one of the requirements is that they meet all these building code requirements and put in the parking. And then also, this is a staff recommendation too about, we feel like that you're in a neighborhood service and it's a restaurant use, you probably should limit some hours of operation. Usually you don't want things going, to 12 o'clock at night or anything. So we've asked, the applicant can address that with you, but we've suggested that you limit the operation hours from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. at night and shut it down at 10 p.m. And that'll be part of the ordinance. That'll be part of this specific use permit, that those conditions are put in and they have to be met. If there's a violation of those conditions, and that the city council can revoke the SUP. With that being said, the applicant is here. It is a public hearing, and I think he's here to answer any questions or address what they would like to do over there. It's the only other thing I'll add. It's a small restaurant. They've told me they don't plan on doing a lot of some of the cooking. They're not going to really have a fryer necessarily. It's going to be where they cook outside on the back porch of the building, and then bring the food in from there. So I think they can explain that better to you than I can. So I'll let them do that. You want to open the public hearing?
Open the public hearing.
Hello, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
All right. Tracy. Yes, named Tracy Howard. It's my sister Tanya Howard. Our address actually is 701 Gibson. I heard you say 703. 701.
Oh, 701.
Mhm. And, we just doing a community service restaurant, a little walk up. Our hours gonna be like from 10:30 to 8. Only Sundays through Fridays. No, it's Sunday through Monday. Yeah, we have Mondays and Tuesdays off.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, so the hours of operation are good with you, 8 to 10?
Yes, sir.
I mean, is that what the council said? I mean, is that what your
Recommendation.
7 in the morning? Right, but he can expand that if he wants to.
Oh, okay.
What type of cookers are you using on the back porch?
Excuse me?
What type of cookers are you using? What type of cooker?
Oh, like a electric burner.
Okay, so it's
We-
not a smoker? It's gonna
no.
be emitting?
No.
Okay.
We was gonna use propane, but they said we couldn't use that, so
Okay.
we switched it up to electric burners.
Okay.
And we'll be cooking on the back of our porch that we got already. We got it screened, and actually we done a whole bunch of stuff already. Almost got it done. Other than that,
What kind of food you gonna be serving?
seafood.
Oh, seafood.
Huh?
Everybody loves seafood.
Okay. Got any questions?
I don't think so. And they said that you were talking about there'll be a screening fence. Of course, I want to try to protect is that a residential home, a single family home right behind you guys?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So I guess that will maintain their privacy, I guess, in their backyard.
Yes,
as much as
ma'am.
possible.
And the one that's kind of like on the,
Uh-huh,
on
On
the
the-
right side over there also, so
right,
probably going to have to fence that in.
right.
They don't use, that property's got part of the property owner. Actually, a deeded out portion of that property, even though it's shown as that one lot, that's all we can get.
Right.
But I think that she didn't own part of that property. For that lot, it's kind of deeded out, kind of funny,
Mm-hmm.
and,
I see that.
really clear as to what, so we're just requiring that fence to go on the west side, and then like you said,
Right.
on the north side of the street, about that. Like that's good.
I think so too. As long as they're protected as much as possible, but yeah.
Okay.
I guess my question is, so you're cooking, what kind of seafood? Like what, are you boiling? Or are you,
Are we boiling shrimp, crawfish, snow crab, lobster? Basically, it's a simple menu. We don't have a real huge menu, it's
Is it
simple.
ready yet?
is it ready yet?
What's the name of it? I
Oh, the
think
name
I've
of the-
had your
It's,
food.
it's called Howard's Catch 'em and Cook 'em,
Okay.
spelled with the K.
Okay.
Catch 'em and Cook 'em is spelled with the K. And I think y'all love our hook 'em sauce also.
Yes,
We got some stuff called hook 'em sauce. Everybody love it.
it is.
Any more questions? Mr.
No.
Howard?
Here's a question.
No from the floor.
I was just curious, adjacent property owners have to. Is it a requirement?
Yeah, the code just requires the applicant to, so.
And of course, the homeowner can always do their own fence in front of it also, can they?
Well, they can, what might be good is to go off and
Yeah,
say, you know, we're gonna do this. All this. Okay, there's no reason to act.
right.
If you can just do, things.
Mhm.
So how many square feet is the facility?
I think good that, it's probably a little bit less.
Oh, okay.
I drove by there.
Yeah, it's small, very small.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Any more?
And we also, we got the, top row, we didn't have any.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see
Everybody-
anybody
everybody-
against
Yeah,
it.
praise for it.
Good.
It would be
Yeah.
if they had a problem with it.
All right, we'll close the public hearing. Anybody else?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second? Everybody say aye.
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 All pass?